Welcome to Empirical Pod. I'm your host, Tim Day. Thank you so much for continuing this journey with me, where I get to sit and talk to all my favorite people. You guys remember the drill. Don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe. Let's get into today's episode. All right. You got your coffee? We can get started. I'm using new equipment today, so we'll see. This might sound like absolute dog shit. Hopefully it sounds good.
Does mine sound okay?
Yeah, sounds good on this end, but I don't know if
All
it's
right.
because of these headphones or we'll see. When I go to edit, I'm gonna be like, "Oh, it sounded good," but
yeah, this
we'll
thing
see.
wouldn't let me run my NVIDIA broadcast. Is that a background?
Really?
Yeah, whatever. There you go. It's my
Whatever. But today,
background.
I'm here with my friend Jordee,
Hello.
who I really only know as Lunatic Spaz.
Yeah, on PlayStation.
That's right, because we met through Destiny. Man, that was 10 years ago now. That's crazy.
I was thinking that. I almost made the full 10-year pull on the Destiny habit, but I dropped off last year.
I can't believe that that's true. Like, because it's the first time we've ever talked face to face.
Yeah, I've never seen you before. Actually, I caught a couple
Sorry to let you
your
down.
podcast. It's funny because I always thought I remember seeing pictures of Tuna, and visually, I thought you looked like him. Like when I finally saw him, that's what I imagined you looked like, and I thought he would look like what you look like, and I was like, "That's crazy, man! How
that
happens a lot."
I wish there was a body swap movie of me being Dan T and him being me. That would make me so happy. For those that don't know, Tuna was our friend Dan T, who's sadly no longer with us. But it was me.
Yeah.
I can hear like every little thing as I'm moving because this mic is so silly.
I don't hear it on my end, so
perfect. Hopefully the equipment's doing its job.
Yeah, it's getting filtered out for sure.
But you are in Vancouver, right?
I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia. That is correct. Yeah.
Yes. So anybody that knows me knows that I often say things that are quote unquote Canadian. I call everybody buddy. And I put a at the end of a sentence. Like, I guess that's what we're gonna do, eh? And that comes from years of playing games with you assholes.
Oh, you think so? Yeah, probably.
100%.
Is that right, eh?
Because we played for a long
Canadians
time.
Don't say that. We played a lot.
Yeah. Now, are you from Vancouver originally? Have you been there your whole life, or did you end up in Vancouver?
Not exactly. I was both my parents were from Vancouver, but I was born in Australia, actually.
What?
Yeah, my dad moved to Australia to do geoseismic surveying, and my mom kind of followed him there. I think they got married before they left, probably. So I was actually born on Australian soil to Canadian parents, but I only lived there till I was 18 months. And then I moved back to Vancouver when I was 18 months. And I think I lived here till I was about 3 or 4. And then my dad got a job in the oil and gas industry way up north in British Columbia in a town called Fort Nelson. It's actually the furthest town north in British Columbia. So
now British Columbia is a province, right?
It's a province, yeah. So it's
broken up into what, 5 or so provinces?
6? Oh, are you going to quote me on that? Should I know the numbers?
We got think so.
British Columbia, Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, Quebec, Ontario, PEI.
Oh, there's a bunch more. Okay,
8, and then you got Nunavut above that, which is the Arctic tundra, basically.
Yeah,
I think.
Okay, but that's still in the but that's still in the same.
So we're on the west coast. Yeah, so
that's up by Alaska.
Probably at least 50. Yeah, it's very close to the Alaska border. It's on the end of the Alaska highway. So I lived there till I was about in grade 3. And then we moved slightly less north, so moving south to another small town. when I was in the third grade, and that's where I grew up primarily for till the end of high school. So I always lived in a small town, out of out of town in small towns. So like town was one stoplight,
Right.
and the including the surrounding area was 5,000 people was the
Wow.
population, and the surrounding area went basically nearly 100 kilometers, or I'm not sure how many miles that is, but in every
Somebody will look
direction.
it up if they care.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah.
100
Uh,
Canadian miles.
what I'm curious too is then, so when you say like Vancouver, you don't live downtown Vancouver. Like you live on the outskirts, or do you live downtown?
No, I live pretty not by definition downtown, but it's only like 10 blocks away.
But it's okay because like we say Chicago, but I'm literally like an hour on the outskirts of Chicago.
No,
It
and
just is
I'm literally
meaningless if I
down.
tell
Like
you DeKalb.
if I go to a Nucks game, like Canucks game, I walk a
Oh, that's
15-minute
awesome.
walk and I'm at the stadium. Like I'm pretty
That's really cool.
central. Yeah,
Damn, that's
yeah,
really. So you say you kind of traveled around. So it sounds like you kind of bounced around during grade school and some of the stuff like that.
a little bit. Yeah, we were always in the same. So the town's called Chetwynd, BC. Shout out to Chetwynd, BC.
All the
Chainsaw
listeners there.
sculpture capital of the world.
Is that true?
That's true. Look it up. Yeah, I think still they got a Guinness record for the town with the most chainsaw sculptures at it.
That's
So
awesome.
very small town, but it was yeah, a lot of gas, like natural gas. A lot of people work in the oil and gas industry there, and the main employment in the town was forestry. So there's like three big mills there where they bring lumber in and process it. So that was you just watch the town live and die by basically the lumber prices. Like you could see you just became really aware of like economic situations pretty early because you could tell when 70% of the town is employed by three places,
Right.
the price of lumber tanks, and all of a sudden nobody's got money, the stores start closing, and it's it's pretty weird actually to
Yeah,
see
I
it
think
happen
there's
like that.
a misconception probably too, especially like down here where Canada, people think that it's like this utopian place that doesn't have issues like that. I'm like, it's pretty much the exact same. There's a couple of minor things that might change and seem huge, but for the most part, it's like any other country.
Yeah, we're pretty small. Like I think Canadians try to, I don't know, like we try to pretend like we're just like America, but the fact of the matter is like we share the same continent, but like market wise, like Canada is just a peanuts market. Like we just don't have numbers. We've got a lot
Yeah,
of space, and that's works against us ultimately. Like outside of the lower mainland in Vancouver, like lower mainland includes out to basically Hope here, but it's a complete drop off once you're outside of it's called the GVRD here, Greater Vancouver Regional District. It's just that's where I don't know what the real number is, probably 80% of the population of this province lives in that GVRD. And then once you get outside of that, it's basically an hour's drive at highway speed between towns, and
yeah.
it drops off, right? So yeah, there's not a lot going on in the small towns.
Yeah, I think it's easy to forget that for as huge as Canada is, it's mostly wildlife and not cities.
No, it's very where I grew up is I think it's still one of the least populated areas on Earth. They call it the Serengeti of the North. It's like driving south from where I grew up, it was 300 kilometers, 3 hours till you hit the next town. And that town was population 70,000 when I was growing up. I'm not sure what it is now. So it's very sparse.
Yeah, that's crazy. So but it sounds like you were in one spot at least through high school. Um, what was it like to kind of be in one place then? Because like you said, you kind of bounced around in mostly small towns. What was your experience in high school like?
High school? I liked high school. I liked elementary school too, but yeah, high school, grade 8. What happened in high school?
Did you say grade 8?
Yeah, you start in grade 8, right?
That when
Is
high
high
school
school?
starts?
Yeah.
I'm asking you. I live in a whole different world over here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're pretty close. Yeah, no, grade 8 high school starts, and yeah, 7's still elementary school. I think you have junior schools or whatever
We have
there, but
junior high. They're different also, like town to town here. Like I went to a junior high that was 6, 7, and 8,
oh,
but
okay.
some of them are different.
Yeah, our town was so small. We had just got a third elementary school, but they all feed one high school.
Wow.
So very small, and it started at grade 8. So I I I like school. I was actually not a bad student for probably grade 8. And then I actually never can remember the reason why, but for whatever reason, I got either removed or my mom took me out of public high school. And for grade, was it all of grade 9? Half of grade 8, I think, in grade 9, I actually had to go to a Seventh day Adventist, like Christian school. I'm a Catholic,
Wow,
but
really?
I had to go to this. I don't practice. I just say I was baptized
Yeah.
and all that. So I was raised like that, but we never really practiced or went to church. So for whatever reason, I think maybe my mom was beefing with my teacher or something. But I got pulled out of high school to go to this Seventh Day Adventist um, church school, basically, and that was they had in the same classroom grade 8, 9, and 10. There's 30 kids in one class and one teacher trying to teach 3 grades, and it was
Wow.
completely backwards. So I don't think that was very helpful for my education. But
I like that
there,
your
I
mom
was
was like,
like,
"I'll show that teacher. I'll pull him out of high school."
I should really ask her. I'm like, I can't remember. I think I was never like, I don't think I was a bad kid, but I've always been kind of a smart ass and like a button pusher,
Yeah.
like just mischievous, like nothing bad, but I don't know. I think I honestly can't remember. So I ended up going to this school, and there I was like the devil, you know, like I was like an okay kid at public school, but there they were
Yeah.
like this guy's the spawn of Satan. So I kind of leaned into that a little bit and had a fun time there, just kind of messing with them. They had crazy rules, like you can't wear shorts.
What?
Yeah, literally can't wear shorts there. I remember. So I remember going to like the photocopy room. They had one of those the paper choppers
Yeah.
and just taking my pants off and putting them in there and cutting the legs off and coming back to class like, hey, I
That's
got
funny.
shorts on. What are you gonna do? But yeah,
So eventually, you went back to high school proper then.
eventually I went back to high school and yeah, I lived out of town, so school was my main focus at school was to be social and see my friends and hang out and listen to
Did you
music.
go to college?
I went to trade school. No, I didn't do any post-secondary education whatsoever
To
other
say,
than
was there
trade
anything in
school.
high school that kind of piqued your just were like, "Ooh, I wouldn't mind pursuing this," or it sounds like you just went straight into trades?
No, I was big into acting. I did a lot of like improv and the whole acting thing. That was like actually legitimately really like that. Um, Performing and doing that for people. I like always enjoyed making people laugh, which is why I got in trouble a lot because I was usually class clowning, like derailing the whole class, making jokes all the time, and just disrupting the flow of things, which I find very entertaining.
It is
So
entertaining.
it is. It's fun for everyone, I find.
I
And
think you've got a unique voice too. You would have been good at voice acting.
yeah, I like doing voices and impersonations and stuff. Like I'm not an impersonator, but just making fun of people and making stupid faces. That's fun. I don't know. My dad's pretty goofy and funny, so I probably got that from him a bit. But that's what I actually was serious about. I really wanted to do that, and I think in grade 11 and 12 I actually taught I got extra credits teaching the acting class to like the grades 8 and 9. So
That's
I
awesome.
did get a kick out of that, and yeah, that was probably the one thing I focus on educationally, if you could say that. I only joined that class because I heard it was easy, and there was an old teacher there that all you had to do is make a video of a day in your life kind of thing, and that was you had the whole semester to do that. And I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm going to do nothing and make this video, right? And then the first day of class, there's a new teacher in town, and he like wanted to do all this stuff. I'm like, oh, this is stupid. I don't want to do this. And then yeah, he started an improv team, and I really got into that. So that was my big jam in high school.
Did you ever do any of that outside of high school, or just kind of let it
I
go?
hosted like a trivia night a bit, but I think as I got older, I just didn't want the attention. I
Yeah,
I didn't feel like, I don't know, it just didn't sit with me the same way. Like I didn't
I think
need
it's
to.
tough because
I
like when
didn't want
you're
to put myself out there to be on like. I
display,
didn't want to be the center of attention. Like it is fun, but
yeah,
it was always about making other people like seeing their reactions, and
yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't seem to enjoy it as
I think
much.
there's a difference too when you're like a quote unquote class clown. Like you're kind of like you said, looking for that reaction, but it's on your terms, as opposed to when you're an entertainer. Now you've got to do something, and you're looking for a specific reaction, and like it
Yeah,
becomes
it's always
almost like
like,
a job.
yeah, and you kind of get pinhole like pigeonholed in that kind of, or when it's someone like, oh yeah, you're funny, do that funny thing you do, and it's like, now
Oh
okay,
yeah,
you know what, now I don't want to do anything.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'll
Like
I'll be
every
funny when
comedian
I
ever was
feel
like, "Oh,
like
tell
it.
me a joke." Like
Yeah, it's
that's not
just
how it
like
works.
I literally couldn't think of one joke, right? So
Yeah,
it's, yeah, that sort of drive me nuts. And um no, I liked high school, but mostly just goofed off and smoked weed and
you smoke weed
did
that
did
young?
I
Like,
oh yeah, I started when I was probably 13, like in a small town.
yeah,
There's a lot of
nothing else
drinking
to
and
do.
stuff, so every weekend there's a lot of binge drinking and just drinking and driving and doing all kinds of
Yeah,
nefarious things that you shouldn't do when you're that young, but that's what you do. So,
yeah. I come from a small town, as you know, quite a few of us from the our video game days. We all grew up in the same tiny
mm.
Oswego town. So, what trade did you get into then after high school?
Well, after high school, I think it was the day after graduation, my mom was like, "Oh, you're graduated now. You can start paying rent." And I was like,
I don't want to do that.
I'm like, anyways, I'm moving out on Monday. So I moved out on Monday, and then so
Did
I
you
could
work
have my
during high
freedom.
school? Like, how did you do that immediately?
Well, so about halfway through my grade 12 year, I again goofing off, and I think I had enough credits to graduate just through by chance. And my dad basically called me one day and he was like, "Look, you're not really doing anything at school. Like, you might as well. Do you want?" He got me a job at a gas plant doing whatever. So it paid really well. It wasn't the trade I ended up getting into, but essentially, when you have gas plants, you have these big they call them turnarounds, where you do all your like major maintenance at the end of the season. So you need lots of people there. You're working around the clock, 2 shifts, like literally 24 hours. And one of those was starting up. And my dad's like, "Look, you could save some money and do this. It'll be good for you." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll do that." So I started working, just stopped going to school, started working there, working 10 days straight. So 12-hour days,
Wow.
10 days on, 4 days off. But you would make so much overtime that when I was
Yeah.
17, I was bringing home like, I think it was like $3,500, like every 2 weeks. So I would have 10 days, then I get $3,500 and 4 days off.
Wow.
Yeah. And I
Kind of
would,
nice too. Like working that much, you don't have time to spend it.
oh yeah, I made up for lost time because I rarely had any
Yeah,
money when I went
you had
back to
4 days
work.
off.
So in theory, what I could have done there is, because I'm smart with money, right? Mhm. I would, in theory, what you do is take all that money and put it in a savings account and use that as a platform to move on to the next phase of your life. Instead, what I did was basically piss all that away and worked that for, I don't know, I worked there probably for about 3 months. Literally had nothing to show for it. Like at the end, I think I was still like, oh, I got like $1,000 left or whatever. So
Oh,
when that was kind of winding down, I was at a party at my buddy's house and he's going, "Hey man, I applied for a job at Whistler Blackcomb, the ski hill down south." I'm like, he's like, "You should apply too." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So we went on his Pentium compact laptop on the World
oh.
Wide Web and surfed
Wow.
our way over there to fill out an online resume, which was like, this is in 1999 or 2000. So this is like pretty advanced. And so
What?
I,
Wait, what did you do? Graduate high school?
99,
Okay, so you're just 2 years older than
yeah, one in a millennium.
I am. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I graduated in 99, did that for a bit. So yeah, it would have been the transition from 99 to 2000. And so he's like, "Yeah, I applied here. You should come with me." This is like on a Thursday, right? He's like, I'm like, "When are you going down?" He's like, "Oh, I'm going tomorrow." I'm like, "Okay, I'll sign up." Clack out a thing, right? And then, okay, well, let's go. I go with him, go down for a job interview on a Saturday, drive down Friday, Saturday morning, we wake up, go to our job interview, just the first wave of interviews. And then we start driving back. And halfway back, we got a call from a payphone because not everyone had cell phones in the year 2000 in Canada. Plus, there's no service anyway. So go
Yeah.
to a payphone and call back. So he calls and goes, "Oh, didn't get it. Didn't get my job." And I pick up the payphone and call them. They go, "Okay, you got to come back next week for your next round interview." I'm like, "Oh, I got in." So so it basically went Thursday, I applied. Saturday, had an interview. Sunday, on the drive back, found out that I had to move there. And then by Tuesday, I was living in Whistler. It would no
Wow.
pre, and I was 17. So I
And you
moved.
didn't have any, but you didn't have much seed money then left over either.
I had nothing. No, I had $1,000, everything I could own I had a 1991 Subaru Loyale station wagon,
Wow.
the ugliest car possibly ever made. It had about 483,000 kilometers on it. Just ran like a hot damn.
Wow.
Got 700 kilometers on one tank though, so it's pretty good. And yeah, stuffed everything I owned into that wagon and moved the 1,100 kilometers south to Whistler. And I just knew as soon as I drove into that town in my car, I was like, this is happening. So I went through like a week and a half of interviews. Like it's a big corporation and they do all these placement interviews, like, where are you going to work? What are you going to do? And all this. I'm like, I don't care. I'll do whatever you guys want. So I ended up working as a lifty, lift operation. So just running the chair lifts at a ski hill. And
Nice.
and I did the ski bum thing for 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah. So everyone else went off to college and I moved to basically, it's more or less Disneyland for people who ski. It's
Yeah.
still considered the best ski hill in North America, the biggest. So, and that was really my passion when I stopped playing hockey through high school was snowboarding. Every weekend, my two brothers and my dad would go snowboarding. We had seasons passes since probably since I was in grade 9, and every weekend my dad would take us up. Basically every weekend, like a lot. He would drive us out. It was about an hour to the ski hill where we grew up, and that's what I spent a lot of time doing is just snowboarding with my brothers and my dad.
That's awesome. You also noticed I didn't ask you if you played hockey because I knew it's a Canadian that you for sure played at some point in your life.
Some people don't play hockey. I was always pretty crap at hockey. So
Impossible.
yeah, most of us do, to be fair. It's expensive though, so it's
Really?
in
Yeah, I guess
cities it's
it's a lot
pretty
of gear
costly.
and stuff.
So much gear and skates. You got to go to like a frozen facility, and it's not like soccer where you need like shoes and a ball. Basketball, what do you need? Like shoes are optional. You know, you just got to have a hoop to throw it at.
Yeah, I would love to see a barefoot basketball team.
I mean, over time, the
Sure
calluses,
they exist. Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
air
They should.
calluses. You get the blisters; they actually have little air pockets in them. But yeah, that was all I knew I wanted to. That was my reasoning there. It was like, well, the only thing I know for sure I want to do is snowboard. So like, I might as well go
It
to
kind of
where.
facilitates that.
Yeah, and that's what I did for those for 5 year 5 years. I had 100+ day seasons of those are not even counting the time I get to snowboard when I'm at work, which is basically every day, but hundreds of days a season just
Man, that's crazy.
snowboarding.
What
And
was the pay difference there though? Like coming off of making so much money as opposed
terrible.
to going to like probably closer to minimum wage or like
Well, you don't even make enough. So there's a housing crisis in Whistler because it's so seasonal at that time. When you go there in the winter, what was it? The population goes up by like 5 or 10x. So
yeah,
there's nowhere for everyone to live. So Intrawest around 2000 had bought. There's Whistler and Blackcomb, two mountains that are there. They bought them both up. So they had a lot of pull there. Essentially, what was it, the first year I lived in staff housing? It was like little apartments that they give you, and they just take the rent right off your check,
yeah,
and they have to leave you with $150 every 2 weeks, regardless of what else you owe them, as a
yeah.
minimum. So for the first 2 or 3 years, that's what I basically survived on, was $150 every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks, as opposed
For
to like the 3,500
Yeah.
every 2 weeks.
Plus, yeah, that's right. When I first moved there, um, my driver's license, I got a letter that I had to surrender my driver's license. I should have framed this letter, but I used to, I had this other car. My very first car was another Subaru wagon. I called the Baggin' Wagon. No, no, this wasn't the Baggin' Wagon. Did I get? No, I did get reported for that. That's why I lost my license. Yeah, I wrecked that, and then I bought the other one. That's right. So I had the Baggin' Wagon, and one day my friends and I are like, let's just drive this car like it's meant to be driven. So I take this thing out. It was an 84 Subaru wagon. It had a high and low range gearbox in it.
Yeah.
And I just rallied that thing all day. Like, me and my buddies were in it. We had hockey helmets on, so in case anything happened. And we were taking this thing down like where guys would take their on big 4x4s, like rock crawling. And I was
Yeah.
passing rock crawling trucks, like rev limiter bouncing off, just smashing this thing through the ditch. And like we broke onto a farm and jumped it. About the first hour, we broke onto the mayor's farm. We're ripping around doing donuts in his field, right? And there's these big rolly grass hills, and we're just doing all these sideways drifts like through his grass field, and we're like launch off this hill. Oh, really quiet in the air. And then the car hits, bottoms out. The whole exhaust system flies up, snaps everything except for the headers off the block. The loudest exhaust you've ever heard, like just straight, literally 6 inches off the block.
Yeah.
You just look in the rearview mirror, there's just the exhaust system sitting on the ground. This is when I still had the gas money, right? So I go to get out of the field, and there's the farmer there, right? Blocking his truck in the only gate out of the field. Oh crap, here we go. What are you doing there, fella? You're ripping up my field? Come on, it's not that bad. He's like, look at this. He's like, you're ripping up the field. I'm like, they're 14-inch tires. They're only this wide. How much do you think I did there? I'm trying to get out of it. He's like, I'm calling the police. I'm like, come on, man, you gotta. And I'm like, no. Like, how much you think that's all worth? Right? I offered him 200. I'm like, here, take $200 for your whatever it was, barley, or it looked green to me. I don't know what it was. I'm like, can't be that bad. Like, here's $200. Let's think that's fair. He's like, oh, okay. So he let me roll out of there, and we kept going, rallying this thing. But I got reported a lot that day from just ripping around my hometown and all over with no exhaust. And that thing ran all day with it. It didn't even have an oil pan. The bottom of the rad snapped
Jesus
off. It didn't have
Christ.
coolant in it for half the time, right? So this thing was limping around. Like my buddy,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, he had to hold the ignition key on for the thing to run. The tack worked in reverse. Like it would be at red line, and you rev it up, it would snap to zero. Like it was just screwed. So we're riding that thing around all day. Finally, it was crapped out, so I go to park it at 7-Eleven. Me and my buddy get out of it like, well, that was a fun day. We just destroyed this car. And we're walking away. Cops pull up to us on the road, and he's like, "Is that your car over there?" I'm like, "That? I don't think so." He's like, "Okay, because if I see you in that car, I'm going to give you a ticket for everything that's wrong with it." And it was completely like, he's like, "You're screwed." I'm like, "No problem. I'm not driving that thing. Like it doesn't even work very good." So we're like, "No problem, officer. You won't have any problem with us," and walk away. And then we're walking to the video store after that, and we see this guy from high school who did like JJ something. I don't remember his name. He's like, "Hey man, could I take that car for a spin?" I'm like, "Absolutely, buddy." Toss him
That's
the keys.
devious. Devious.
Toss him the keys. I think he made about 100 feet. Just woo. The cops had him pulled over, but I love that car. Yeah, where was I going with
Sounds
that?
like an amazing time.
No, it was very fun. It was one of my favorite car memories. So
Yeah.
yeah, when I moved to Whistler, I got a letter. This is probably 3 months later. My mom forwarded some mail, say, "Hey, I get a letter from ICBC." I look at it, it's like, you need to surrender your license because you got reported for driving without undue care or detention, reckless driving, this, that. It was literally a paragraph full of all these discretions. I'm like, oh, great. So I surrendered my license, and I used my the car I did have at the time as a rental car. I just rented it to people in the hostel, like 17-year-old, like bunch of Aussies say, "Oh mate, I gotta go down to Vancouver. You gotta can I borrow your car, mate?" I'm like, "Yeah, give me $100 here." They just give me $100. I'm like, "Here you go.
It's actually
See
really
you
smart.
later." Yeah, well, I needed some money. I can't drive the car anyway, so I put it to
Yeah.
work for me. But I think I only rented it 4 times, and then some burned the clutch out on it. And yeah, it's fun times. But yeah, I did this ski bum thing for 6, 7 years. Met
Hey, it
actually,
sounds like almost at least through half your 20s then, eh?
yeah, most of them. Yeah, well, yeah, 25, 26, I think is when I moved down here. But remember Linear Phase on Destiny? That's where I worked with him in Whistler, and he was pretty
Oh,
much
really?
my best bud from that. So we were snowboarding buddies. Probably did at least half my riding with him personally. So
Yeah.
yeah, we go way
Awesome.
back. Yeah, that was a fun time, man.
So then that leads eventually to trade school, or is there another piece in
No, so I did that seasonal work. It was kind of on and off, and then I think the last season I worked for Whistler Blackcomb. In the summer, I would just do whatever I could do. Some summers I wouldn't work. I would just kind of bum around and rack up my credit cards. And
there?
this one summer, I got a job landscaping. So I was landscaping, and it was last day of landscaping, and they happened to drop me off. They're building a new Four Seasons up in Whistler, and I'm sitting there going, uh, "Man, the ski hill's not going to open for another 2 months. I guess I got to find a job." So I'm like, well, there's a construction site. I just wandered up the hill and started poking my head in trailers, like, "Hey, you guys need any help here? Or what's going on?" And oh yeah, yeah. And second trailer I walked into was like some drywallers or whatever. They're like, "Oh yeah, we need a laborer, right?" I'm like, great, cool. One kind of, yeah, come here tomorrow and you got a job. Perfect. That was easy. So started just packing drywall, cleaning drywall, just doing labor crap, and almost got fired from that job too. The boss didn't like me. I was, you're supposed to fill these garbage bins full of drywall, right? And he's yelling at me like, "You got to stack that thing high, bud. It's got to be drywall this high off the thing." And I'm like, giving him lip, like, "Well, if I stack it that high, it's falling off all the time. I got to pick it up. It's going to take longer, blah, blah, blah." He's like, "Get out of here. We don't need a wise ass like you. Get out of here." Tried to fire me. And I come back and um, I another one of the general contractors, PCL, hired me to work in the elevator. So I quit the drywaller job and I ran the elevator for a bit there. And then when I was in the elevator, I would just talk to all the other trades, like, "Oh yeah, what do you do, man?" Like, "Oh, I'm a bricklayer." And, "Oh, sweet, I could do that." "Well, bricklayers make a lot of money, eh?" And then the electricians that were on site seemed to have the most fun. And I was like, that'd be pretty cool. And I think about half a year before, my dad was like, "You know what, you should try," because at this point I'm like halfway through my 20s. And my dad's probably thinking like, "What are you gonna? Are you just gonna snowboard and party for your whole life?" Which had crossed my mind. And he said, "You know what you should do there? You should try to get one of those apprenticeships. You know, they train you up and they pay you to." I'm like, "Oh yeah, yeah, I'll do that, Dad. Sure, we'll get right on that. I'll pursue that." Did nothing. And while I'm working in the elevator, I go, "Oh yeah, the electricians are having one." So I asked them, "Hey, you guys taking anyone on?" They're like, "Oh yeah, we'll hire you." So I work for 3 different people on the same construction site. I got hired by
That's
that
amazing.
electrical outfit, and I've actually, that's the last time I got a job, because I've worked for those guys for 20 years now. So yeah.
Is that
And
the same electric company
yeah, never
that
same. They've always
that
kept
Tony
me
works for,
busy.
though?
I think he doesn't work for us anymore. I think
Okay.
he changed companies. Yeah.
That it was is that where you met Tony?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tony's
Actually,
another
the
guy I
guy that
played games
hired
with.
me is Anthony's dad's brother.
Okay.
Yeah.
It
So
always
Anthony's
was
uncle.
amazing to me that, like, because a group of us in this town played games together and grew up together, and somehow we met you guys who all were also a group of friends playing the same game, which is just insane.
I always liked you guys because you're from Chicago, and I don't know what it is about Chicago, but like Chicago comes up a lot.
Really?
Yeah, like I don't know what it is, but stuff I like the Genesis in Chicago, like Chess Records, and a lot of food and architecture, and like a lot of stuff I trace back that's in, like, is it Muddy Water or Howlin' Wolf? Like my dad used to listen to Chess Records compilations
Yeah.
in the truck after hockey practice, and Spoonful, and just so much Chicago stuff that I don't
Yeah.
even know later in life. I'm like, "Oh, that's from Chicago too." So I
You ever
always
made
like
it
that.
out this way?
No, I haven't. No, I've never been anywhere east, but it's definitely on my. I definitely want to go to Chicago at some
Yeah.
point.
It's a lot more culturally rich than I think we realize because we live here day to day. We're just like, whatever, it's Chicago.
Yeah, you totally take for granted where you are. Like you don't
Yeah.
care. It's stupid. Like everyone in Vancouver comes, "This place is too expensive and it's lame." I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like there's the ocean and mountains, and like, what are you talking about? Like this is like the Goldilocks zone on Earth.
Yeah.
It's basically Switzerland. Like it's crazy.
It's basically Switzerland.
It's beautiful. Like you look at it and
Yeah.
you look at the mountains and the surrounding area, and you're awestruck constantly here. Just like, this is
Yeah.
crazy that this
I would love
town
to go
exists.
there. I would love to go to Vancouver pretty bad. I've only ever been to Toronto, and
Oh yeah.
like even Toronto, like coming from a big city like Chicago, Toronto's a big city, but it felt so different as opposed to like a Chicago. It just was very warm and inviting. Everybody would talk to you. Like it looks clean. Like you don't see that. I mean, this was a long time ago, also, but you don't see that in like that large of a city. So it's really cool to kind of see a whole different take
Yeah,
on it.
Vancouver is pretty small by comparison, compared to Toronto even, but
Yeah,
yeah, it's not very big. But yeah, I
yeah,
can totally see that. Like it's just like me growing up in a small town. Like I grew up with dirt bikes and four-wheelers and
yeah.
fishing and the forest and all the things that when I moved to Whistler, it's a lot of city kids coming to have their mountain experience. And I'm telling them about how I grew up. Like, oh, yeah, when I got home from school, I'd just hop on my skidoo and go ride up through the mountains on the snow. I mean, that's what did you guys do? We're like, we went to the mall. I'm like, oh, cool.
Oh,
I wish
wow.
I had a mall, but I did, right? When I grew up
Yeah.
like that, I was like, there's no mall here. I can't go have the Orange Julius and shop for CDs. All I
Yeah.
got was Columbia House records.
Ugh. Still get emails from them.
Yeah, 10 CDs for a penny though. It's hard to go wrong. You know,
Yeah, that's true. 30 years ago, it was awesome.
I used to just make the spoof accounts. My mom would get so pissed because I had like 4 of those rolling in. Like,
Yeah.
what's this?
I did the DVD club.
Oh no. Oof.
And it pissed me off so much because like even still they'll still email me and I'm like, you guys are still selling DVDs. We're like 3 generations of media past that now. Grow up.
Are they still doing that?
They are. Like I'm like, you don't even have Blu-rays. Like what are you doing?
Although I was all in. I had so many DVDs, and I at one point I sold them. I was waiting out
Dude,
the
I had like 1,500 and I sold the whole set.
yeah, I was at a 900 because I love DVDs. There was a time there where I was like, I was ripping DVDs, buying DVDs, just all about the DVD. I love the what do you call it? The alternate audio tracks, commentaries and stuff.
Yeah,
Like
commentaries were
so
huge.
good. And
Outtakes, like all this, you lose all this stuff with streaming.
the Easter eggs,
Yeah.
and had so many, and I was kind of waiting out that HD DVD Blu-ray battle. And as soon as Blu-ray run, I'm like, oh man, these DVDs are a ticking time bomb. They're never going to be worth more than right now. Just went to the pawn shop. Like, take these
Yeah.
away from me. I got to start doing Blu-rays. And
I did it. I started with VH. I had a huge VHS collection
I actually
originally.
have VHS now. That's
Do
I
you?
don't know.
I feel like
Yeah,
it's
can you
coming
see
back.
that? That's a
I
CRT
can.
right there.
Oh, that's amazing.
13-inch CRT with a VHS built
I
into it.
like that that's coming back, similar to like how vinyls not necessarily come back, but like still around for people that are like, I like things on film, and I thought I want to watch it where it's a little sketchy sometimes.
Well, what happened here was in the alley, somebody left like I don't know, 300-400 VHSs, and I'm just too
Wow.
curious to like I'm going through. I'm like, oh my god, look at these, and it was like good ones, right? So I brought all the boxes into my house before they got rained on,
Yeah.
and
When
just
was
started.
this?
This was probably last year at some point.
Say, what did your wife think about all this?
Oh, she thought it was kind of cool.
Nice.
She kind of knows I got an eye for stuff, kind of
For
side
garbage.
for garbage. Like, look at this trash we could keep in here for 6 months. And no, well, little side tangent. Like this whole thing is a side tangent, but we were going to the farmers market. It's probably 2 years ago now, and we're walking through, and they have a kind of garage sale thing. Everyone goes to the thing, lays out a blanket, and sells their crap, right? And I'm walking through there on the way to the farmers market, and I look at this blanket. I'm like, Jesus Christ! I look down, like, are those Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the boxes still?
Ooh.
So I
Yeah.
pick one up, look at the back. I'm like 1989. I'm like, that's the first. That's the first. Like, I'm not even a toy guy, and
Yeah.
I almost said to him like, why are these out in direct sunlight? Like the UV is gonna screw up the labels, right? So I know nothing about. And they had them. They're like, yeah, we want like $2 each or whatever. And they had
Dude.
like 9
They
sitting
were
on the
still in the
blanket
package.
in the package, unopened, like pristine, right?
Oh
So
man.
I had just bought a Thomas the Tank Engine um, suitcase for my son because we're going to Japan for a trip soon. And I'm like, oh, I'll take them all. And my wife's like, what are you talking? I'm like, just don't say anything. Just
Take it easy.
wrap these things up. I'll take them out. Oh, thanks so much. I'm like, no problem. No problem. So she's
Did
like, what
you
are you
end up
doing?
flipping those?
Oh, I flipped them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. They were
that's
going for
great.
like 200 a pop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a good profit on that. So ever since that, she's a little more trusting of
She lets you
if
bring
I
the garbage in now.
yeah, if I see something like, no, trust me. Even my amp here, I got this Techniques amp I picked up at like it's an old film set sale or whatever. They wanted $10 for it. I'm like, go on eBay. They're selling for like 300. So sometimes if you know what you're looking for, you get lucky. But VHSs are pretty worthless. But
Yeah.
I just wanted time to kind of sift through them, and man, there's a lot in there. So I got it down to, I think I got probably 60 in here, which I consider to be like one nostalgic for me and ones that are like VHS, like era correct. Like there was some in there like Donnie Darko and ones that are like clearly like
Yeah.
that was DVD, but
Yeah.
like Ghostbusters and Monty Python and The Great Outdoors with like Dan Aykroyd and John Candy. I don't know if you've ever seen that one, but
Bruh,
just
come on.
certain.
The Great Outdoors?
Oh
Come
my
on.
God, suck my wake. Yeah. So many good like memories of, when I was a kid, all we had was E.T., Aladdin, and Labyrinth.
Man, yeah.
So that's what
I
we
still to
watched,
this
like
day, actually.
Lion
Now I'm
King.
just thinking about Great Outdoors now. I still quote it to this day when he like
Oh, the
runs in.
bear scene.
Yeah, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make you sandwich, big bear. All right, I'll make you a big sandwich."
Oh man, yeah, I should watch that actually again. It's a good one.
That's not for nothing. I feel like it's similar to like when certain things feel better because the nostalgia thing on vinyl. There's something about watching a movie like that on VHS that, like you said, feels time correct, where it just like
Mm.
adds to the experience. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I don't need to see that in 4K.
Right?
Like I
Yeah.
could, like, and I'd probably be like, "Ooh, it looks amazing," but it's not really about like Lawrence of Arabia, maybe. Okay, I want to see that in 4K. That's a CinemaScope. You know, it's kind of needs that, but Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one I got over there.
That's
Yeah, a
awesome.
bunch of classics. So I didn't have a player, and then that was the thing. Once I had the VHS, I'm like, and I'm like, man, VHS players are expensive.
Yeah.
That's what cost the money. So I called in a favor from my mom because I'm pretty sure I saw one at her place under the stairs. And hey, you don't happen to have one of those? And I wanted exactly this, the small screen so the resolution doesn't get kind of blown up
Mhm.
with the built-in. And I just asked her, I'm like, you got to have a 13-inch. She's like, why do you want that thing? Fucking stupid. Like, well, you're the one that has it still. Like, bring it
You're
down.
right.
So I got it, and it's sweet. So now I actually use that for VHSs, and I've got a modded Wii U that has all of the era correct um, Genesis,
Yeah.
NES, Master System, and Super NES stuff on it because that console you can mod. And a lot of people forget Wii U spanned generations where it had HDMI and it still had a composite output. So you don't need to do any weird boxes. You can do a 480 signal out over composite on it. And then the emulators, you don't need to use a filter for a CRT because it's on a CRT and it looks
Yeah.
like it's supposed to.
That's true.
So
Also, the
yeah,
Wii you can is a soft mod. It's not a hardware mod. It's nice and
hmm
simple as long as you know what you're doing.
I did, and I paid
I,
a guy on Craigslist to do it. But
oh, really? I modded two Wii's in
no,
my
it's a
lifetime.
Wii U. But yeah,
I
it's
don't
the
think it's
same
too much
mod.
different.
It's the
Yeah.
same. Yeah, you got to boot into the Wii section to run the emulators, anyways. So
Oh,
only
yes.
annoying part that you need the stupid pointer to
Yeah.
to get it started, anyways. But other than that, I've got a bunch of GameCube games on there too. So
Nice.
I
That's
love that
awesome.
system. But yeah.
So we just kind of alluded to two things. One, that you have at least one kid, and two, that you have frequent or not frequent, but are at least we're planning a trip to Japan at some point. So, how did you meet your wife?
How did I meet my wife? I was doing a job building a tower downtown in Vancouver at Pender and Butte, and I would never pack a lunch ever. I would just eat out every day at a restaurant for lunch because I'm retarded with money and definitely don't want to have any money in my bank account.
We don't use that word, but yes,
Oh, right, you can't say that. Mentally challenged. I don't know.
you are mentally challenged with money.
Mentally
That
challenged.
doesn't
Yes,
sound it.
no, I'm money retarded. So I would eat out every day, and we were going to this Greek spot because I smoked at the time, and this is like way after you couldn't smoke inside, but this Greek guy never got the message, and there was this little Greek place where the guy was like, go in there and he'd make me this really good Greek omelet, and we could go in this little room and smoke darts, and I was like, this is the best place ever. I just love smoking inside at the time, and could have my omelet and smoke. That guy closed his place up, so I had to start going to a new restaurant. She worked at the next closest restaurant, so I started buying omelets there. Her omelets weren't as good, but
Did she make Greek omelet? Because Greek omelet's
no,
amazing.
no, she couldn't do the Greek omelets, but she was very generous. These were like huge omelets with a lot of stuff in them. So I would go there often, and then I think I added her on Facebook. I think Facebook was a thing then. So you add people you met. So I added her on there, and then I had a girlfriend at the time, so didn't really pursue it. And then I would say maybe, I don't know, a year later, I happened to be done with my current relationship, and she happened to be out of her relationship too, and we started chatting a bit, and then hanging out. And that's about, you know how it goes after that.
Yeah,
Just hanging
I
out.
can.
But yeah, I met her at the restaurant there. So, but she had moved from Japan. I think
Okay,
at that
she's
time
from Japan,
she's
right?
from Japan. Yeah. So she was. I'm not sure how long she'd been here at that point. Maybe 2 or 3 years. So still pretty new to Canada. And yeah, just started talking to her and hanging out more, and then eventually got up the guts to take her on a date. And our first date was pretty funny because we both happened to be living in North Vancouver, which is on the other side of the water. I was like, oh, that's cool. We should hang out sometime. And I don't even know if it was really a date. We just kind of went to hang out or whatever. And we're
Yeah.
down at the quay, the quay. It's like this place on the water in North Van with a little, docks and restaurants and stuff. And we're hanging out there, and I'm outside trying to be cool, meeting a new girl. And a bird just craps on my hat. Like seagull comes by,
That's
big
amazing.
turd all over.
That's so funny.
And her reaction is, "Oh my god, you are so lucky." And I'm like, "I love you." Like that was the moment. I'm like, "That this is the best." I'm like, I thought this is done. Like I'm never gonna live this down. I'm like,
I
turd
like that
on
she
that
wasn't
guy.
like, "That's gross." She started thinking about the sheer statistics of that happening and was like, "That's
No, I think
crazy."
it's a Japanese thing. She was literally like,
Oh,
"No,
really?
this is if a bird craps on you, this is very good." I'm
This
like,
is
"Really?"
very
Like, this is amazing then. So that was great. And yeah, I think we had our first kiss maybe 10, 15 minutes after that, and the rest is history. Now we got 2 kids.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. There was that at some point while you guys were dating. I remember when we were playing games, you ended up like going to Japan for a pretty long while. Like I thought it was like a couple of months.
I went for I think that time that was right before, I believe, just before the Taken King came out, if I'm not mistaken.
That's true because you know who I had to play with. I was playing with Slurpee and Jack because you were gone, and we put
Uh,
in that was we played for 26 hours straight.
well, you had to with their skill level. That's a problem. No, yeah, no, that was probably the first break I ever took from Destiny. But yeah, we went for 3 weeks and went to Japan, and I've always wanted to go to Japan. And it was nice that I got to go with her because it made it a lot easier, and I got to see where she grew up too. So we did the whole. What did we do that time? We did
And where is she
when
from?
she is from 2 hours north of Hiroshima on the west side of Japan's main island. So close to a town called Gotsu. It's called, oh man, the name of her small. I thought I grew up in a small town. My wife's from like an even smaller town in rural Japan.
There's like village, like tiny little villages with
It,
dirt
it's
roads out
it's
there.
beautiful. It's like that movie, the Leo. DiCaprio movie, The Beach.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty much like a small village on like a beach like that on this secluded bay.
Wow.
It's beautiful. And again, you take it for granted, like this is awesome. Like look at this place. Like this no one goes to this beach. Every time you go there, you're there by yourself.
Yeah.
Like there's maybe 60 houses there,
Wow.
and half of them don't have people lived in them. The other quarter are falling apart or abandoned. So yeah. What's it called?
Pretty incredible.
Fukamitsu? I gotta look it up. I always forget the name of the place. It's
Was it
very
uh was there any kind of like issue, like because you met her family and everything, then was it, everybody was cool and inviting, or was there any kind of pushback to that?
uh from like me being not Japanese.
It's crazy. It's funny because in my head I'm always like, oh yeah, you're just some American guy showing up to marry this Japanese lady, but you're not, and I forget that that's different. It's looked at different around the world, being from America versus Canada.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's a Iwama Fukamitsu. Very easy to say. Um, yeah, for sure. I mean, in her town, I definitely get weird looks because in the major when you go to Tokyo and Kyoto and Fukuoka, like all the major centers, there's a lot of tourists around, so people are kind of like,
Yeah.
big dumb white guy. And then when you go to the rural areas, they don't see white people very much, or we don't. I didn't see white people for at least 2 3 hours, even on the train, like passing through places. I'm like, oh, I haven't seen a white person in a while. And literally, I was walking down the street in her town, and basically this old lady said like, oh my god, what is that? Like in Japanese, she's like, what? And I'm like, to my wife, I'm like, what did she just say? She's like, yeah, like what the hell is that thing? About me. I'm like, okay. So
I have such low self esteem. I think that would be it for me. If
yeah,
somebody said, "What the hell is that thing?"
what the hell is that thing? The last time I was there, her dad's neighbor, I'm going for my morning walk, and the dad's neighbor, he's like, please reach up, please reach. He just wanted me to stand by his house and just see how high my arm could reach up. So I'm reaching up and I like touched his gutter. He's like, whoa, yes, like clapping. I'm like,
Are
this
you
is
really
crazy.
tall? How tall are you?
I'm 6'4", so
Oh, so you're pretty. That's pretty
yeah,
impressive.
I hit my head a lot there. Like the building codes are just not built. Like even like busy train stations in Tokyo and Kyoto, like they got major signs like are about this high.
Yeah.
Like nothing's built for me there, so I really gotta keep my head on a swivel. I hit my head so much there. I just get welts from her. There's this one staircase in her parents' house where you're going down the stairs, and there's just this oh, right around 6'2". So you're just kind of hunched down, thinking about going down the stairs, and this thing just squares up on the top of my head, like just blood.
Oh.
Happens a lot, but
Did
I
you do you
yeah.
speak Japanese now, or did you learn
No, I wouldn't
Japanese?
say I understand more, and I have a small vocabulary I can use for the kids, like basic commands,
Do
like
your
time.
kids speak Japanese?
Yeah, they speak more than me. That was my what I thought was going to happen. I have the kids. Great, we're going to teach the kids Japanese. I'll learn Japanese with the kiddos.
Smart.
Genius. It's like free Japanese school, except for one thing: kids are friggin' learning machines,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they picked up Japanese faster. So my son was born first. I'm like, oh, I'll pick it up with him. Totally missed that boat. He's really good at Japanese. I still am equally as terrible, 5% better. I'm like, no worries. I'll have another kid, so I have another shot. Have my daughter. She's even better at Japanese than him, and she learned twice as fast.
Wow.
So now they just, when I try to speak Japanese, my daughter just goes, she's 2.5. She just laughs. Like, you said it wrong. So they translate for me. And I know a couple like tate. Uh, Now I'm blanking on everything, but I
Now you're
have
on the
some
spot. Yeah.
parental commands that I can give them. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Japan so much. Like, I love Japanese wrestling. Is the only like words I know is from that. But I've always had a
Oh
dream to go
yeah.
to the Tokyo Dome.
Oh, like sumo or traditional
No, like
wrestling or like the.
actual like pro wrestling.
Oh yeah, I love their pro wrestling's good. I was watching. I had some cable channel where I could get it for them, and my wife will let the kids watch more stuff if it's in Japanese. She doesn't really want them to watch English stuff, so
Yeah,
um, yeah, the wrestling's so good, so extreme.
yeah. It was that Japanese strong style. It's amazing to watch.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on, but it's amazing.
The
They're
announcers are
crazy.
incredible. Like I don't know what they're saying, but man, they say it loud and amazing.
Yeah, they're pretty excited about everything. But it was yeah, the first trip to Japan was really memorable. Just I remember just being in Tokyo and coming from Vancouver, just the process of my life of going from a small town and then, Whistler's pretty much a small town, but it's a ski resort. It doesn't really, it's not really a real place. We always joke it's like a snow globe, right? It's not reality. You're kind of in this reality distortion field. Everyone you meet's on holidays. And I enjoyed Whistler because it was like traveling without moving. I was always meeting people from other countries and getting their perspective on things and taking that all in. So I really appreciated that. I didn't have to go anywhere. It felt like the world was always coming to me at this place. And then when I came to Vancouver, it was like, oh, I'm in a city now and it's so big. And then you fly into Tokyo and you're like, okay, that's not a city. Like, but I could see the future of, you know, in 400 years, what Vancouver could possibly look like because of just the age of Tokyo. Like the density is, it's like if you've ever seen Blade Runner, it's the closest thing. Like you're in Tokyo at night and it's, just rained and everything's kind of glistening and it's Blade Runner, dude. If I've never felt like I've been on a completely other planet more than just wandering around Tokyo and just being like everything is just huge. The scale of it and the density and it goes forever. Like we went up the Skytree at 650 meters, like the second or third tallest structure in the world. And you look out of that thing on a clear day, and all you see is city. As far as your eye can see is metropolis, like dense city for every direction except for the ocean. You can see the ocean, but everything that's land is covered with just dense buildings, and the whole it doesn't even make sense to your brain because you're I've never seen something so dense and you're looking at stuff like that's a soccer field over there and it looks like someone's lawn. Like it's just it's crazy. It just blew my mind. Like so I remember like after that trip flying back into Vancouver and looking at it and going, this is a small encampment on the ocean. Like it is nothing. This is
Yeah,
not a city. It's nothing. It's it's not even comparable.
yeah,
It's
that's
crazy.
crazy. It is crazy.
I mean, you're from Chicago. Like, what's the population of Chicago?
Chicago is very, very dense, and it because it bleeds out into Chicago's the biggest, but it keeps bleeding into other cities all the way out. Like you have to go a pretty long way till you
Oh,
start
you're
hitting like farmland.
2.6. Yeah, no, that's still tiny too. Yeah, like the population of Canada lives in
In
Tokyo
one city. Yeah,
in one. So it's just like more people than my whole country live in one city.
yeah,
Like
that's wild.
just the activity and it's a sight to behold. It's really really cool. It's
I'd be curious
insane.
too 'cause if it's got to feel lively 100% of the time. There's always something going on.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, you could. I don't know if I could live in Tokyo, but you could take multiple trips there. Like we only go there for maybe a week at a time usually, and it's like you'll never see everything. It's insane. It's so cool though. But yeah,
So
I
do you
really
guys
love
go there like
Japan.
once a year or
We try to
just
go
when you
every two
can?
years. It's just expensive, right? Especially
Yeah,
now we got to buy 4 plane tickets, so it's costs
yeah.
quite a bit
I
to
was
go.
curious too because like right now, like it's insane. Prices are insane here. Like
Mm.
things have gone up so much. Are you feeling that, or are you just like things they're more expensive because your family's bigger, but things cost what they usually cost?
No, everything's more expensive. Food has gone up a lot here. Our
Yeah,
gas has always been crazy, but like we're almost paying close to $2 a liter,
yeah.
which is, I don't know. You guys are in gallons, but your gas is cheap. I think your gas is half the price of ours.
Well, because a liter is so much less.
No,
But
no,
yeah,
but even like just um straight up, it's yours is probably half as much as
I
ours
think
is.
it's like 3.5, 380 somewhere in there for a gallon. But it fluctuates so much just city to city.
Yeah, that's same. We got like if you live inside the GVRD, there's an extra tax on it, so you get to pay
Okay.
30 or 40 extra cents a liter because you could take a bus, use the transit. But yeah, whatever.
So
It's
how
expensive.
long have you been married now then?
I got married in 2016, so
Okay.
a while.
So
How long
coming on eight
was that?
years here.
Yeah, it's a while. We were together for um 6 years. I think we got together in 2009, probably. So we were
Wow.
together for a while before we got married too. So
When did you didn't do anything fancy to propose, or were you just like, oh, let's just get married? Did you do something fun?
no, I don't think so. I think I surprised
Perfect.
her with a ring and just
It's like a business transaction. You're like, we're gonna do this now. She's like, I guess.
yeah, I know. No, I don't remember what I did, honestly. Probably
Really?
I don't know. It wasn't something I premeditated, and we didn't really even have a big deal wedding. Really, I think there was maybe 20 people there, mostly like close family. We rented a room at the Hotel Vancouver, and after I invited everyone back to the backyard, and I made them hot dogs, and we got drunk.
It's actually pretty amazing. Like,
I just
I like.
find the whole pageantry thing of people putting like a down payment on a house down on a wedding, and I get it if you're gonna
Yeah,
remember it and take the
sure.
pictures.
I love the
It's fine if you
pageantry
want to
as
do
far
that.
as being part of it, but I could not spend the price of a car on a wedding.
If she
That
wanted to do
doesn't make
that, I
sense to
would
me.
go along with it. Luckily, she wanted
Sure.
something simple, but if that was
Yeah.
her dream and I had to make that happen, then we would have done that. Luckily, she's incredibly practical, and that's probably my favorite thing about my wife. She's super, I don't know if she's practiced Buddhist, but she wants for nothing. She never buys anything, and it's rubbing off on me even though I would spend all my money if I could.
Yeah.
Like
She
I've
keeps you
always
in
got
check.
something. Yeah, she keeps me in check. Like now I'm way better at like I do want to buy things constantly, but I do more of the research and sleep on it phase. I'm like, okay, do I really need this? Like it's got to solve a problem. Where traditionally I'm buying it like
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
I
buy
f-
it
I feel
and
like it's
deal with
such
it.
an annoying gamer impulse. Like, how many times have we pulled a trigger and be like, I gotta get this right now, and then play something and be like, this kind of sucks.
Well, it was bad because all I would play was Destiny, and I'd buy a game. I'm like, I'm gonna buy this game, like play like 2 hours. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is half as fun as Destiny. Like, dead to me. Going back to that game I like,
Yeah.
play that for another
The
100 hours. But yeah, no, I remember buying like what was the PlayStation 2 generation, just like buying an Xbox. It was like I could either buy groceries or buy this Xbox. But once I buy this Xbox, I'll have it. I'll never have to buy it again.
That's
So
sound
I bought
logic to
the
me.
so I bought the Xbox, of course. And yeah, I was very hungry that week, but I did have the Xbox, and then I got to play a lot of Halo too. So,
Well, do you want to eat for a week or play games for the next 5 to 10?
and I did. I played Halo 2. That was like my previous game career was Halo 2 with my buddies. Same thing happened with me with another group of friends I have down here still, where I only knew them through Halo 2. They're some of Linear's friends he grew up with in that town, and we had a 8-player squad that we played with. We'd have practice and stuff, and like we
Wow.
were hardcore. Like we had
Yeah.
strategies for every maps, different game types. Like we played. That was our career. Like when we weren't snowboarding or working, we'd get home and hop on Xbox Live and like, okay, we're getting to 50. We're trying to get that level 50 on Halo 2, man. It was so hard.
Now, when your son was born, uh, that was a tough time.
Yeah. Yeah. My
'Cause
son
I
was,
remember when this happened, 'cause I was like, "Holy shit, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard." What actually happened there?
oh, that was pretty rough. So my son was born 6 weeks premature, which is pretty early. So that was a big surprise. Basically, my wife woke up at 3 in the morning, and when at a time when we didn't think we were having a kid,
Well, it should
and
take
she's
9 months, and you're talking 7.5.
yeah, so it's pretty early, and she's going, "Oh, I'm bleeding." I'm like, "Okay, let's go to the hospital." So we go to the general hospital. We're there for about 45 minutes till they finally go, we can't really help you. You got to go to women's hospital. I'm like, okay, we just wasted 45 minutes here. We're sitting
Wait,
around waiting for an ambulance.
wait, a women's hospital?
Yeah, there's a women's. That's what I said. I'm like, this is Vancouver General Hospital. You guys can't deal with a child. Like, you guys can't birth a
Okay.
child here.
You're not used to that either. You're like, yeah, that's doesn't make
I don't
sense.
know. Like, I'm new to this whole having a kid thing, right? So I'm like, okay. And they're like, yeah, you'll have to go in the ambulance. So we're sitting around. My wife's like, I know enough that she's having contractions that are, I'm timing them on my watch going, hey, these contractions are like 5 minutes apart. I don't know what that means, but that's what's happening.
It seems
So
important.
seems urgent. Like, where's this ambulance? Oh, they should be here soon. I'm like, look, we've been here for 20 minutes. I'm like, can I drive her to this hospital? He's like, oh, could you? That'd be great. I'm like, okay. So I put her back in the car, rip up to women's hospital, and
Just a side note: do you have to pay for that ambulance? Would you have had to pay for that ambulance drive?
no, what are you crazy? No,
I'm like, that's it, a minimum 10 grand here.
no. Yeah,
Okay.
you'll probably like the rest of this story because I didn't pay any money for it. Um,
Oh,
so so I go to the women's hospital and they go, yeah, they're trying to give her some drugs to stop the contractions to keep it in there. And then after about God knows how long, probably 5, 6 hours, they're going, look, you're you're gonna have this baby today. And we're like, all right, well, what can you do? And my son was born, and I remember like seeing him. I'm like, oh my God, he was like looked like a purple sack of jello. Like, just there was probably 20 people in that room, like people waiting with machines, like for him to come up. Boom, like couldn't even touch him for a day after. So he was born. He was 3 pounds at birth, and he was literally his collarbone to his butt fit in my hands, that big. I got pictures of him, like if I spread my hand out like that, that's this whole size of his whole torso. Like he was just tiny. So that was in retrospect, I was grateful it was with the first one because I didn't know any different. That was just what we were doing for our kid. But we
yeah.
were in the NICU for another 6 weeks basically until he was strong enough to breastfeed. He just couldn't even breastfeed or do anything. He just had to grow.
Yeah,
So
that's terrifying. Like, and you feel so helpless. Or like you said, that you didn't have anything to compare to, but you're like, I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be like this, at least.
I don't know. I was just committed to it. Like it wasn't something that crossed my mind. Like, oh, it shouldn't be like this or it should be like that. I was just grateful that the staff at the hospital were so helpful, and ultimately we kind of got like a bit of a crash course in how to take care of a baby. Like for the first 2 weeks, we were at this new hospital that only been open for maybe 6 months. We had our own room. We could sleep there right next to the incubator, and all the alarms going off constantly. The heart rate's dropping off and the oxygen. So I get PTSD from all these kind of beeps and stuff. Like, what's that? What's that doing? And all that. But we, you get to question the nurse. Any question, we always had access to, like, he had his own heart doctor and lung doctor, and there was probably a team of 16 people that checked on him around the clock for those 2 weeks. And eventually they were like, look, this, well, right away, all the nurses are like, oh, 6 weeks, this is nothing. Like, we, this is easy for us. Like, you guys shouldn't worry. So they really
Yeah.
took a
That
lot
make
of
you
the
feel at
edge off.
ease, like,
Yeah, way
because it
better.
seems so terrifying, and then you're like, okay, these people deal with this daily, and they're like, this is, you're fine. Don't even
He's
worry
like,
about
honey, this is fine. Like, 30 weekers, like, you don't even need to worry. We can do this. It's not a problem. So that was a relief too. And just seeing some of the stuff that other people had to go through there. Like, there's kids that are half the weight of even him, and like
it.
even three
Yeah.
weeks earlier that are going through like heart surgeries that size, and just like the stuff that life puts you through sometimes is um hard situations make you grateful for you never know what you have until something's removed from it, or you know how bad it can be. Like, that's the old saying, like, the worst thing that's happened to you is the worst thing that's happened to you. Like,
Right.
if you've had a very privileged life, the worst thing that happened to you might be that daddy didn't get you the BMW for your 16th birthday or whatever. But
Right.
that's, you know, bad stuff happens, and the perspective never hurts in your life, not
Yeah.
permanently.
Yeah. I'm amazed too to think that you had your own room, a team of, like you said, around 16 doctors, specific doctors for each different thing, and full access to that, and like people to talk to, and then to stay there for 6 more weeks.
Well, we were there for 2, and then we got I didn't want to, because
Uh,
we're 2.5 weeks, and they're like, look, he's in good shape. You're going to have to go to St. Paul's, the other hospital, the older hospital
okay.
across town,
Yeah.
to go there. But still, same thing. Nurses watching
Right.
him
Right.
and taking care of him the
Yeah.
whole time. The only thing there was when after 2.5 weeks, we weren't allowed to stay there overnight. There was no sleeping facilities. So that was probably the first hard part of the early time, is that we had to leave him at the hospital by himself. And that was
Wow.
like 2.5 weeks in.
Yeah.
That felt the worst, to
Yeah.
have to like leave the hospital and come home and be like,
Yeah.
oh
One of the
man.
things I admire is, like, you're already going through this incredibly traumatic thing. It's kind of what hospitals are built for, is the reality of it. But you didn't, like you said, you already alluded to it, that you didn't pay anything for any of that.
No, I did happen to. I think I saw an invoice one time. Basically, I don't. I think it was for the whole stint, for the whole time we were in NICUs, and it would have been in the neighborhood of around $780,000.
What would have been.
Would have been, if I had to pay something at all.
Yeah. So you're talking, three-quarters of $1 million because your son needed that,
Yeah.
which nobody would ever not do that. 100% of people would be like, do whatever it takes to make sure my
Oh
son
yeah.
makes it.
Yeah. I would go and
But now you've got
cripple.
that added stress of knowing in the back of your head that
Literally never,
eventually.
the cost of the care never ent literally never entered my mind at any stage ever.
Right.
It is just not a calculation I had to think about,
Yeah.
or
It's just
anything.
crazy to think of the place down here where
I would be
it's
screwed.
part of the business. Yeah, like you'd
I
still
would
be
have to
paying it off.
sell my home. I would have to completely upend my life. And I mean, you'd make it work. It'd just be what you're doing. But like,
Sure, for sure.
why would you want to do that? It's
But
crazy.
it's 100% crippling to a
I
life.
guess if you had health, maybe you can have health insurance that covers that too. But I don't know.
Even if the health insurance covers like 50% or 75% of it, that's
Yeah, that's the
still
thing. In my
a lot.
experience, insurance companies are in the business of, how do we not give you money? Not, oh, how may we help you? That's not what they
Right.
do. They're a
Yeah.
business, and they don't keep they're not successful at business by giving everyone money. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, it's fine. You're probably on the up and up. They're like, no,
You look healthy. Yeah.
we trust you.
uh,
Something about you says everything you're saying is true, and we're not
yeah.
going to look into it any further. There you go.
Yeah. And I don't want to get too far in the weeds. Like, obviously, different whatever. People can look up their own things and make their own decisions. I happen to admire and really like a lot of the way Canada's set up, but I'm not here to talk about it. But your son recovered and grew into a normal little boy, right?
Yeah, he's relatively healthy. When he was around 2, we noticed he does have like minor like cerebral palsy. So on his right side, he's got like it's developmentally behind. So he's got like a brace on his right leg to keep his basically his Achilles, his heel down, or his right foot would tend to like go onto its toe and his Achilles could get short, so that just keeps his legs stretched out. And his right hand's pretty, he can use it, but it's not as able as his left one. It's a little weaker. So that's just something he's we got to deal with. And it's like the one, if you could dial cerebral palsy to like the first notch, that's what it is. It's called high function. So he's more or less there, but yeah, he's such a cool little guy, and
How old is he now?
he'll turn 6 this summer. So he just finished kindergarten yesterday.
Oh, nice. Good for him.
Yeah,
And then you said his sister is 2.5.
2.5. So she'll turn 3 in September.
I love that she makes fun of you for not speaking Japanese
She's
correctly.
very sass. She's the sassy one. My son's the sensible, good one,
Yeah.
and she is the I don't know. She's something else.
Was there
She's
they didn't there was no problems with her, right? Everything was just normal, or did you guys
well,
run
she
into
was
things?
giant. Um,
She
she
had the
was
best of both worlds.
yeah. Both. I think my wife delivered them both naturally, if you can call it that.
Sure.
Um, the second one was during COVID. She was born during COVID and somewhere in that COVID era. So we were trying to take her to the hospital. My wife was just saying the other day she was mad because my son and I were laughing at her because she was screaming in the car having labor pains, and my son started cracking up because he didn't know what was going on. Mom's just making funny sounds. And he's like, "Mommy's funny." So I started laughing at her too because I'm like, "Okay, it is kind of funny, all these sounds you're making." So it's not very nice. But anyways, we dropped her off at the hospital to be like, she's having a kid here. So we try to go in. They're like, "Yeah, no, the little boy can't come in. It's COVID." I'm like, okay. So have fun having the baby. I'll take care of this
Yeah.
one. And the daycare wasn't even open yet, so I took the car back, and I'm waiting at the front of the daycare for like 45 minutes for it to open with my son. Like, come on, freaking open the daycare already, man! Don't you know what's going on in my life? Finally, the lady gets there. I'm like, okay, here he is. Bye. Like, get in there. I rip back to the hospital and get in there, and she's still going at it, like trying to have this baby. Like, come on, did he get this done yet? So I go. She's been in there for a while, an hour and a half, and the nurse. So I'm in the room, and the nurse is like, "Oh, keep pushing. You're almost there." And I'm looking at her. She going, didn't want to say anything. I'm like, "You're not almost there. Like, they're nowhere near close to having this thing." Like, all I could see was a little that much of a head.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'm like, I
that's quite
think
a
we're
ways to go.
yeah. So there was. I don't know if you ever get the chance to see someone have a baby, you should definitely do it. It'll change your life and give you a lot
I
more
don't know.
respect. For
That's
you'd
fair,
never
yeah.
feel more useless as a male. Like in the first 9 months of a child's life, you never feel more like, "Ugh, what am I doing here?" Like, I really don't have a lot to offer right now, other than like I'll hold it, and you can do a couple things, but you're just not essential to the baby's life at all. Like, you don't need to be there.
Yeah.
You want to be there, and it's the coolest thing ever, but yeah, yeah, women really pick up the slack and do all of the essential duties. at 9. I mean, you can change diapers and stuff, but they really need breast milk and a vagina to grow in. So we just
That's
can't
true.
do that.
I've heard that they don't grow inside the vagina per se.
I heard once in the 90s there was a fella, Arnold Schwarzenegger. He had a baby.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that documentary
It was a
actually.
documentary. Yeah. You guys should look it up.
Yeah.
I think Danny DeVito was in that one. No, wait. It's another, it's a different documentary, I think. Right?
So, do you guys think you'll have any more kids or no?
Uh, Probably not. I didn't think we were gonna have a second one. My
Really?
wife gets mad when I said it this way, but she's like, she's like, "What do you think about having a second one?" I'm like, "I'm pretty sure we're gonna regret it either way." Because I'm like, if you don't have a second kid, you're definitely gonna, oh, we could have had another one. I'm like, there's gonna be moments when you're like, this is the best, and I can almost guarantee you, there's gonna be other times when we're like, why did we have a second one? And that definitely happens. But it's been awesome. Like, yeah, it makes me want to have another one, but we're just not at a good age. And unfortunately, we live
Yeah.
in a city that has the third highest price in real estate in the world. So
In the
it's not,
world?
yeah, it's not
I didn't
really,
realize Vancouver was that expensive.
yeah, no, it doesn't make any sense. The prices are just, it doesn't make any sense. I don't know who these people are that can afford to live here in
Yeah.
giant places, but
Think you'd ever leave Vancouver?
out of not wanting to, but I could see myself having to if we
Yeah.
have another kid to get some more space kind of thing. But
Do
I
you
think
guys
about
have?
it.
Does your wife have dual citizenship?
She's a permanent resident, so she can do everything but vote. So like, who cares? Plus, in Japan, you have to, if you switch teams, like you want to have a citizenship there, then Japan's like, oh, yeah? No, then you are not
Done.
Japanese. You're done here. Bye. Like it's a bad breakup. So it's not worth it for her to gain, like, to vote in Canada for like,
Yeah.
who who cares?
Right.
Like, look at what politics has become. I don't want to talk about politics at all. So, but I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
real,
It's a
I wouldn't
circus.
sweat the fact that you can't vote in Canada. Like,
Right.
we don't need to affect the price of maple syrup or whatever catastrophic thing's going to happen. Like, nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's just meaningless. So yeah, it's not worth giving up Japanese citizenship. But I think both my kids are dual, so they can have both because they were born that way.
Until they grow up, and Japan's like, you got to pick
I
one.
no, I think you're right. Something about that. I think they have to choose when they're 18. They have to kind of
Really?
pick a side. Yeah,
That's
but
hilarious.
they'll just pick the Japanese side, and so we can go
Well,
there.
yeah, it'll be the same thing. They just won't care about voting.
We've talked about moving to Japan,
Yeah,
but
that was gonna be my next question. I'll be like, do you think you could ever see yourself living in Japan?
I could, yeah. I like it there. I kind of like the fact that I don't understand what's going on. I love it's like meditative. Like, you're just, you don't know. You're just in your own little world and you don't know what people are saying, and it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
You don't know if that guy's an asshole because you don't know what he's talking about. So I don't know. I really just like Japan. The country and the people are, everyone takes so much pride in everything there. Like, if you have a job there, like if you work at Family Mart, which is like 7-Eleven or whatever, then there's none of this, like, I don't know if it happens where you are, but maybe it's a BC thing here because everyone's so like blasé about everything. But it's like no one has any pride about anything you do anymore. Like, everyone just doesn't care about anything anymore.
There's
Like,
such a
it's so
hierarchy of
weird.
status now. I feel like, and
Ugh. It's just
and
all this,
yeah,
whatever, someone's gonna do it. It's like, no,
yeah.
what you do. You're here, you're working. Like, I don't understand. Like, y- that whole attitude, like, I don't care. It's
Well,
just
even
a
like you just said
mob.
about the hospital, it's like, can I just drive her? And you're like, oh, that'd be great. You could have
Yeah,
said that
right.
20 minutes ago.
Like some people, like, yeah, the nurses, like, you can always tell the difference between like a really good nurse and like an okay nurse. Like,
Yeah,
the really good nurse is like lives to like help people.
right.
Like, the crap that those people go through, like all these people that work at hospitals and like the hospice areas, and so like I couldn't do it. I mentally couldn't deal with like people being at like that point, just a crossroads in their life, or like
Yeah.
life threatening illness in front of me, and knowing people are going to die there in front of me constantly. Like I'm so grateful that someone has the word, like they can do that. And I'm so grateful that they exist, because man, they just seem like a dying breed. Like it's such a hard job. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
tough.
It seems like empathy, the lack of empathy is a thing. And like you said too, like nobody takes pride in their pride can be a slippery slope. Like, because I think that there's a negative flip to a certain
Yeah,
level of pride
pride. I don't know if
also.
pride's the right word. Like we're, yeah, being proud of what you do. Like even
Yeah.
like say you're a guy in Japan, you sweep a sidewalk or you clean toilets or something, like that guy like does that to
Right.
100%. You
Yeah.
just don't see this kind of quiet quitting, kind of slack, bare
Yeah.
minimum, like whatever. Like here it's like the tipping thing. Like no one tries to have good service here because it's given. You're gonna give them a tip,
Right.
right? Because it's expected. Well, in Japan, they're insulted if you tip, and
Right.
they also give you the best service you've ever had. I don't so it's it's just the complete opposite.
Yeah.
Everyone's super helpful, and just the general public is just, I don't know, they just act, everyone just acts
I think one of the things
class.
that
I don't want
I
to say
kind of
classier. You have to go
it's
to see. I don't know. It's weird.
it seems like they're raised in a more disciplined culture where like that's part of the culture is to be disciplined.
Mm.
Whereas at least like in America, I feel like we've spent the last 30 years kind of trying to tweak or eliminate the discipline part because it was too much in generations prior. And now we've
Yeah, like
overcorrected to the other
yeah,
way.
that could be what it is. Yeah, I guess because Canada is so young too, and that's more like, I feel like we almost don't have culture here.
Yeah,
Like
like it's still
maybe
building.
America does. Yeah, like that's how I kind of felt as a Canadian coming back here and going to Japan. Like there
Yeah,
feels like there is, and there in Japan, it's more of a monoculture, right? Canada is always about it's a melting pot. Everyone come on over. We'll all mix together.
yeah,
But you always just kind of end up with this, when you make that swamp water Slurpee, you just mix all the
yeah,
flavors together. Well, it doesn't really
yeah,
taste like anything. Like you're better off
right.
just, we should have had a Coke or an orange, you know?
Yeah,
But it's not that it's better or worse. It's just, you feel that there. Like everyone's more or less rowing in the same direction. They're all of the same culture, and you feel that. So
yeah,
it probably has its negatives too that I'm just not really privy to. Like I know
sure.
they get overworked a lot there, and there's a lot of pressure, and there's negatives to it too. But just the feeling you get
Yeah.
when you're there is it's really beautiful.
I think you hit it on the head. I can't believe I never really put together the idea of they share a similar vision because they're one culture. And I'm sure there's tons of various versions of that tweaked here and there regionally. But like when you look at to a lesser extent Canada and to a greater extent America, it's so mixed, right? And just constantly just being mixed more and more.
Well, and even
Uh,
coast to coast, like what
oh yeah,
different places mix in what areas too, and then
yeah. So it's hard to find that singular, which is why it's laughable every 4 years when they're like, "All right, somebody's got to lead us." Like, good luck, anybody having any kind of singular vision to anything.
yeah, like you can't get anyone to agree on even coast to coast in the States has more cultural difference than all of Japan. Like it's,
Yeah,
you know, someone from the West Coast is so much different than someone from the East Coast.
yeah. It's wild.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I hope you get to go one day. I mean,
I hope so. Also,
there's a new airline called Zip Air.
yeah.
It's a Japanese airline company, and they're way cheaper. They're about half as much now. We haven't tried them yet, but that's what we're going to try next time. Shout out to Zip Air. Discount.
Yeah, right.
No, they're supposed to be. It's budget. Like you don't get any. There's no extras. I heard you don't even get water. You got to like fill a water bottle up before you go, but it's cheap. So
Yeah, I
if you
can
can
bring a
save
water
half,
bottle for cheap.
yeah, you got to fill it up in front of them though. I think that's the deal. But yeah,
Yeah, that makes
no, it's
sense.
fun, man. We're supposed to
What?
go back this year, but our booking fell through on Zip Air. Like their website crashed. My wife spent all the time filling it out. We're like, yeah, we're gonna go. Get ready to book your holidays. And then she went to submit the form, and the website's like, sorry, it's not working right now. I'm like, oh damn. And then by the time we went back in the queue, it's like all the flights slipped another month. We're like, well, there goes.
That
There's
sucks.
always next year. So, but now my kids are asking, like, are we going back to Japan soon? I want to go to Japan. I'm like, damn it, you guys have expensive tastes. Like, why don't we just go to California or something? I don't know. It's cheaper, guys.
Nowhere
But yeah,
near as fun.
no. Yeah, last time we went with both the kids, we went to basically every theme park in Japan. Like it was crazy.
Yeah, that is
Yeah, we
pretty
went for
cool.
6 weeks and did Disneyland and Universal Studios, Legoland, Umpan Man Land. Oh my God, there was more. Constant like aquariums and you name it. We went to a lot of different places, man. I think we've been to the top 10 biggest cities in Japan now and been all over. That's
That's
fun.
pretty awesome. Yeah, that's really cool.
No, last trip
What?
was really good.
So, kind of winding down. Basically, I think we've covered your life up to the present.
Pretty much. Quick,
What do you
quick
think is the
summary.
next? Like, what do you have on the in your brain for? Like, we kind of touched a little bit on future plans, but what do you see big picture?
Big picture. Just raising my family, man. That's all we're doing right now
Living
is
the dream, literally.
yeah, no, it's really good. I'm really just settled into that. Like I had kids pretty late, so that's been just my focus. Like that was kind of my plan always is like make sure that when I had kids that I was old enough that I thought I had enough perspective that I could try to pass something on to them and
Yeah,
that's what I
already in
actually
snowboard in your 20s, and you're like, we'll figure it out when I'm in my late 30s.
yeah, right. But I wanted to have that like life experience. Like I couldn't. I just know a lot of people. Like my parents had me when they were like in their 20s. I'm like, man, I couldn't
Yeah,
imagine like what I was doing when I was 23, having a kid. Like that guy should not have had a kid.
right.
So no, it's just nice being committed to that. And over the last year and a half, couple of years, I've just been um, getting back in shape and waking up early. It sounds lame, but that's what I do now is that's for the last almost 2 years now. I basically wake up at 4:15 every morning and work out and go for like a 10 or 15 kilometer walk or this last couple weeks I just started running like a 10K every other day.
Oh, wow.
So I get up and it's basically the sun's not out yet and I run 10 kilometers outside and that's my sounds weird but that's my enjoyment. It's quiet and
Yeah.
no one
And
else is
you had
up. I run.
recently lost. Did you recently lose some weight?
Yeah, the 20 2022 I stopped drinking so
That'll help.
that helped and yeah I literally I'm like okay I'm kind of done with I wasn't really drinking a lot anyways like I'd go months between drinking and then I'd really tie one on and get like blackout because I love to drink.
Right.
And but it was sparse. I'd be like, yeah, let's tie one on and rip it up. I get really drunk. And then I was like, I probably don't need to do that anymore. Like I kind of know it was kind of like this fine like I know it's I know what's gonna happen. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing new to it's not like a discovery thing anymore. It's just like
Yeah.
I know it's gonna I'm gonna get blackout and it's hilarious and I might fall asleep
Right.
somewhere, but it's
Yeah.
not what I need to do. So I stopped doing that and literally started yeah, I started on that program of waking up around 5 a.m. at that time, and I've been basically working out 6 or 7 days a week. Even the days I don't work out, it's like going for a big walk. My rest day is going for like a 10K walk. So I was doing that, but I went from I dieted for 3 weeks before I went on a scale, but I was 265 at at the end of 2022, and by I think it was June that year, I got down to 185,
Wow.
which was
Big
a little
loss.
underweight. I kind of overshot it. I was only trying to get down to 200. So I kind of just was in my routine and doing that. So I kind of overshot that. And then I've made a few tweaks here and there I've been trying to do more like strength and um, stretching things to try to just, I've been reading that bunch of random health books, and stuff. But there's a
Yeah.
good one by Peter Attia called Outlive. It's like he calls it the third generation of medicine. So I've kind of been trying to follow that. He talks a lot about having not lifespan, but a health span. So he kind of lays out a program to be like trying to minimize the suffering in the last, making yourself more useful in the last 20 years of your life, because there's a big precipitous drop off in your ability, like basically from 65 on, that if you don't have this kind of foundation built up, that it's just going to be less enjoyable. Like if you want to be able to lift your grandkids or be able to do certain things, be mobile, then you got to be, you don't got to be, but it would be beneficial to be at a certain level of fitness. So
Yeah.
I've done it before. I think right before Destiny came out, actually, I went from 250 to 190 in a span of 5 or 6 months. So I have the I have the ability to do that. So I like both sides of it. I love putting on weight too. I can do that very easily, and so I
Like
complete.
nobody's ever said that out loud before.
Well, I
I
can't.
like putting on weight.
No, it's fun because if you think about it, when like I'm never like, how am I getting so fat? Like I know,
Yeah.
like if you put on weight, you know how you did it. I know how I did it. I would eat
Yeah.
smoked meat poutines and freaking cheeseburger with a milkshake for dinner
Yeah.
3 times a week. Was it
Right.
delicious? Do I love smoked meat poutines? Yes. Is that cheeseburger fucking good? Uh-huh.
Sure.
But at the same time, um, yeah, just like the drinking, like, didn't don't need to do it all the time. Tonight I ate like half a Costco pizza, so that's cool. But it's not something I do very often, right? Now
Yeah.
I'm trying to maintain weight, so with my current activity level, it's pretty tough to maintain weight. I'm trying to put weight on, like lean mass, and I've never been able to really master that. Just you have to eat so much, and I'm constantly going up and down right now. So I feel good where I'm at, but it's just something to do. But it's really enjoyable. So get out for a walk in the morning before sunrise. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I
Enjoy it.
100% need to do that. It does sound enjoyable. But I think, unless you have something to add, I think we've covered it all.
Yeah, I don't know how long these normally are, so sorry if I've been rambling, but thank
They
you for having me
range
on.
from 1 hour to, I think the longest is 3 hours. I have a couple that are like over 3 hours.
Really? Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we can go
mean,
into more detail. Well, that's the gist of it. We're all just out here. We're all just out
yeah,
here doing our best, guys. Like I
that's the
understand
gist
that.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think, in fact, that's a really good place to end. We're all just out here doing our best. Appreciate you so much for finding the time in. It's awesome to actually put a face to the voice. And I'm going to count this as us meeting in real life.
Yeah, for sure. If I'm ever in Chicago, I'm gonna come to Chicago one day. So I got your contact. So I
Oh,
wanna
yeah, that'd be cool to
wanna
get a
hang
little
out one
crew
day. And
together.
if you're ever in Vancouver, man, don't be a stranger. Like you're always welcome to sleep on that couch. Come hang out.
I'm going to remember you said that. Eventually, you're going
It'll
to be
be
pissed
annoying.
off that
There's
you
two
said
kids
that.
in here too, but I mean,
That's fine. I'm going to be like, teach me how to properly speak Japanese.
Yeah, you'll probably learn faster than me. So I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully, if I find some time to play Destiny, if I see you on, I'll hop in and you can tell me how to do whatever is going on in that game now. Okay.
Yeah, I'll teach you all the current meta.
Yes, thank God. I need a guru.
All right, later on, man.
All right, man. Later.